I have not done one of these in a while. Um, Not the same usual intro. Um, Not the same usual anything for that matter. Um, I wish this was a fun, playful, or even a traditional interview, but it's not. I just want to open up with you guys about something serious, about an experience of mine, um, and really we'll see where it goes from here. I have like some notes about points that I wanted to touch on, but it's not your regular thing, and I know it's been like 3 months since I've posted. Um, but yeah, I think it's time that I address and I talk about an experience of mine, and just in detail and in depth on what has happened or what took into place. Um, I'm also not trying to make light of this or dramatize or attention seek or attention starve, because that's not the point. It's pretty much to share how the Lord has been faithful in a very harsh or hard time in my life, which I'm hoping, past tense. But yeah, so about over a month ago, I want to say a month and a half, 2 months ago maybe, I made a very poor choice late at night, 11:30, 12 at night, where I ate very late, I ate very fast, and I ate a lot. It wasn't junk food, it was just rice and chicken, and then I had like those little glazed donut ball holes, I think, or donut holes or whatever it's called. And my stomach was really stuffed. And I used to eat a lot, in the sense of like I would literally eat till I wasn't satisfied. I would eat till I was full. But this night it hit different, and I had an indigestion basically. And so what stemmed from that was my stomach was like, felt tight, it felt like I had a pain. It was very uncomfortable. So I went around the neighborhood and I walked a few laps, and I still had the same feeling. And mind you, I just told you it's 11:30 or 12 at night, so my parents are both asleep, and now it's starting to get to the point where it kind of hurts, but it's really, really uncomfortable. And so I lay down in bed thinking that maybe that'll work, and I was Googling. I even asked a neighbor if I was, who's a paramedic. I was doing all these things, and I was freaking out, and I was like, okay, this is not normal. What do I do? And I didn't want to wake up my parents. That was for sure stupid, but I didn't want to wake up my parents, and I didn't want to scare them in any way, so I just kept it to myself. And so this was on a Friday night, and I pretty much, like, genuinely speaking, without jokes, without exaggeration, without dramatizing anything, I genuinely thought I was going to die that night, because I never felt this, I never experienced this. And so it was to the point where, like, I was reciting scripture. I even thought about writing like a letter, you know, to loved ones, which is just dumb, I think. I don't know. So that was that. And then I woke up on Saturday. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm alive. Like, and I had, at that point, it was like abdominal pain. Because like I said, it was either, I think gas reflux is what it's called, or an indigestion. And so I told my mom basically how I felt, and I told her like I thought I was gonna die and this and that, and she's like, it sounds like you had indigestion. So I barely ate that day because my stomach hurt and I couldn't take in any more food. And so barely had nutrients. I ate like a bird on Saturday, and then Sunday comes around, and I go to church with my parents and my girlfriend, and I start feeling very weird, very off, because I didn't have any nutrients from the day before or the morning of. I didn't even have sugar, like even a mango juice or something, nothing. And so I can't think clearly. And so I tell my mom, I was like, Mommy, I'm feeling weird, really weird. I'm feeling really bad. Can we please go to the urgent care or the hospital or something? And so this was like at the very end of the church service. And so I start freaking out, start panicking, and I'm like trying to breathe in, breathe out. And so they gave me like water with sugar to boost up my blood sugar, and then I had like an empanada or like a mango juice or something in an empanada just to boost up my blood sugar because I was yellow, I was super pale, and so that happens and I freak out and I'm like super nervous. And so we go to the urgent care, they do everything, and I told them basically what happened on that Friday night. And I initially like start getting, I got scared, but then I was breathing, taking deep breaths of air. I was breathing in, take a deep breath, counting it, holding it in for 7 seconds, and then exhale, and that helped out a lot. So the nurses or whatever they were called, I don't know, it wasn't really a doctor, but it was nurses, I guess, or something. They basically said it sounds like, or it looks like you might have had a panic attack slash panic or anxiety attack. And I've had a couple before in my life, so it's not like whatever, you know. But there's always been a cause and effect. There's always been a built up toward that. Like it doesn't just happen just cause. And if you know me personally, if you ask anyone who knows me, I'm generally a very confident, and I'm a very driven person in the sense of like I know, okay, I'm not nervous. I really don't get nervous for dumb things. If I get nervous, it's because of things that I think that are valid. Generally, I'm a very confident dude. I'm generally someone who has everything into God. Like I have all my trust, all my faith. But for some reason, in two separate occasions, at that point, I'm thinking to myself, oh my goodness, like I'm gonna die basically. Never really struggled with that. Never really thought of that, I should say. So that's the context on the other scenarios that have happened and built up. And so when that happened at that very moment, on that Sunday, basically my mom made a doctor's appointment and we were going to follow up and tell him so my mom made a doctor's appointment, and so from there till then, we were going to get some blood work done on me. But my mom, she didn't confirm or say anything, but she was like, oh, like just in case, like let's clean out your intestines because that could be one contributor. Maybe they got compromised by a parasite or something. So we did a cleansing where I extracted the juice from carrots, and we also did cabbage juice. And so it's a good way to clean out your intestines, and so we started that. And so my way of thinking was better. Physically, I felt a lot better. My skin was a lot more like healthy looking. It felt a lot better. My mind, everything. But there were some side effects because I made a drastic change. Like I cut out a bunch of different types of sugars and carbs and stuff like that. And so throughout this process, I was still like nervous. I was like freaking out. I'm like, oh my gosh, like is today my last day? Is today the final day I see the light? Am I done for? You know, all this stuff. And I'm going to talk about the spiritual stuff in a second, but I want to talk about kind of like what I've been feeling, what I went through, and that type of stuff. And so there was like 2 or 3 other occasions where we went to urgent care or the ER because like I was panicking, I was freaking out, and I was like, I feel like I'm going to die, like I feel like I'm going to pass away, something's going to happen to me right now. And it was scary. It was scary and it was brutal. And come to think of it, I get a bunch of blood work done. The results come back, I'm good. I do a stool sample to see if I have any parasites in me. Of the 5 tests, all 5 came out negative. I was good. I'm also going to be doing a CT scan soon, and it'll hopefully, Lord willing, it'll be good. Because it was sequences from freaking out to either chest pain or throat pain. Where basically it felt like I had like a frog or like a golf ball in my throat, and it felt like someone was grabbing me on my neck. And then sometimes my chest would get tight, and so it was a culmination between the stresses and the nervousness and all this crap that my body and my mind has been going, so it's reflected onto my body to where I have this pain, this uncomfortable stuff. And then also the dieting, in the sense of this drastic change in my diet. And I'm now drinking carrot juice and doing all these things. And so it gets to a point where my body's like adjusting to it, but it's like I think in Spanish it's called crisis curativa. I don't know what it's called in English or what the literal translation would be. I think it's like curative crisis maybe. That's the literal translation, so if that's not accurate, sorry. I'm trying my best. So that happens, right? So now, kind of like the chest pain goes away, the throat pain, but now I get these horrible, horrible head pains, these migraines. And at that point, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, do I have like mental issues, or do I have issues going on with my brain? Do I have a tumor growing inside? All this crap, all this nonsense, and all these fear-driven things that, to some degree, the enemy's just throwing at me. But also, like, on my part, on my stupidity, I'm kind of believing some of it too, thinking like, oh my goodness, like, do I have issues, and I don't, because the blood work came out fine, and we did heart, like, I think it's called KGB or something like that. That was good. My pressure, everything's good. So but I'm still having this health anxiety, and I'm talking to people. I have good friends, good people praying for me, all this stuff. And I'm like, why is this happening to me? What is going on? Like, I've never been like this. And this all, mind you, this all started and this all got triggered because I had an indigestion that night, and prior to that, I was not feeling none of this stuff. I was not experiencing none of this stuff. So I'm like, what is going on? Why do I feel this way? What the heck, And I was even listening to podcasts and listening to testimonies of people from a faith-based perspective, the same crap. It's like anxiety, this and that. And so from a spiritual sense, like, I was like, God, like, please be with me. Please help me to understand, and please just hold on to me, Lord. Please hold on to me. And so I'm freaking out. I'm trying to be as codependent upon God as possible. And I have all this stuff happening, all these things, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be cool, calm, and collective. Every day's a new day. I'm gonna be calm. I'm gonna be chill. I'm not gonna like freak out. I'm gonna be relax, taking more chill, taking more relax. And so there was like, for probably 2 or 3 weeks consecutively, not only was I waking up late, but I would go to bed early, just watching TV or watching something. And also, I spent like maybe 2 weeks just sleeping on my mom's bed, with my mom. And it was like, all right, like, I'm not going to be able to do this forever. That's not a good plan long term. So then I was taking baby steps of like going back to my bed, relaxing, chilling out, doing whatever, going back to the gym. I didn't lift in like 3 or 4 weeks. And then also, because I had such a drastic change in my diet, I initially, lost like 10 pounds, something like that. So that was that. And so there were other factors too, like where, like, you hear about, a family member getting sick or having an issue or whatever, or someone dying or whatever the case may be. And so I was instilling those scenarios in my head of like, oh my gosh, like, what if I have this problem or this issue or this situation or whatever? And it was hard. It was tough, and it still is to some degree. But I was reminded, I was convicted, and I was told as well that that is not the life we're called to live as a Christian, and that is not the promise that God has given us. So I have a really good friend who, she's awesome. Her and I, like brother and like sister. Something she told me, because I told her and I explained to her the situation, the scenario, and something she told me was, that's not biblical. Like, God does not give us a spirit of fear of death. He doesn't do that. 2 Timothy 1:7, for God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and love and self-control. That's the type of spirit the Lord has given us, and still does, to those who are called by Him, and to those who trust Him, have their faith in Him, whatever. And so when she said that, I don't know how to explain it. It just clicked, and it hit me of like, she's right. Like, God doesn't give a spirit of fear in any scenario, but especially a spirit of fear of death. That's all nonsense, and that's all lies from the enemy. So it's like, if God doesn't give that, and God doesn't promise that, why are you believing that? Why are you enabling that idea or that thought? And why are you not fully trusting God? And so God told me, He spoke to me, and He was like, dude, you're not trusting me with everything, but you're especially not trusting me with your health. You are so concerned and scared of dying and doing all these things and Googling all these questions, but you're not trusting me. And it's true, I wasn't. Because if I were trusting Him, I wouldn't need to be Googling so many questions that have nothing to do with me, I also wouldn't be doubting my blood results or my test work on my health, because they're all good. So why am I so worried? Why am I so anxious? Why am I so nervous? And so obviously it triggered, and it stemmed from the health, and the health stuff stemmed from just the indigestion that night. But then it's like these little things just pop in and out, and I've learned a lot, and there have been good things that have come out of this, to be quite honest, and I want to share those with you guys as well. So first and foremost, I'd be not lying to you, but I'd be like messed up to say like this did draw me a lot closer to God. As a Christian, you see sometimes we'll have our moments where we think we're at a moment where, oh, I'm great with God, I'm good with God. And that's good, obviously, to feel that way and to also acknowledge that. But you can always grow closer to God. You can always be drawn closer to God. And that's how it is in your walk of faith with the Lord until Jesus returns or until we meet with Him when we die. And this experience and this moment and this stuff not only continued to draw me closer to God, but it also enabled me to continue and to grow more my faith and my trust in the Lord. That's a beautiful thing that we have a promise, is that God won't forget us. God won't forget us, and He won't forsake us. He won't abandon us. He won't leave us behind. And that's one thing that has been a huge blessing. Still continue to draw closer to God and have my spiritual body just stretched and strengthened. And then a big thing too, big great thing too that has come out of this is I've always been close with my parents. I obviously could be a lot closer, but I think what I was sharing with my mom and my dad is I haven't spent as much intentional time with my parents the past few years. And what I mean by intentional is like sitting down, having a conversation, talking, appreciating them more, watching a movie together, whatever the case may be. This scenario, this issue, this situation, this trial, this tribulation has reminded me and enabled me to spend more intentional time with my parents, really appreciate them more, really talk to them more, take more advantage of their presence, because they're not always going to be around. And also, we're not all going to always live together. There's a point where, Lord willing, I will get married and I'll have kids of my own and have a life, outside of what I currently live. And so this has really helped me grow a deep appreciation for both my mom and my dad, and just a huge support system around, and being able to express myself, being able to tell them hey, this is how I feel, this is what's going on, and for them to really love onto me, appreciate me, and support me through this trial and this tribulation. Another thing too that I've learned from this is to take care of your body. Take care of your body and your mental state. How do I explain this? I would eat not the best on and off, but I also wasn't eating crap every day. But still, the way I have not taken care of myself before it's a pretty big difference compared to now, where either I wouldn't sleep enough, I wouldn't eat at the right times. You see, I was very much, I'll eat at 11 or 12 at night, 10, whatever. I'll eat late. That's not healthy for your body. I also didn't exercise my mind a lot when it comes to either just reading books or memorizing. Well, I always memorize scripture for sure, so maybe not that example, but just my psychological warfare as well of thinking well and growing my mind or whatever, but I would say a big part is cutting out a bunch of processed foods, or just cutting out things that I know I shouldn't be eating, or eating an excess amount. And then also doing the cleansing of the juice stuff, which has done a huge favor, and it helps out a lot with the carrot juice, the cabbage juice. It's disgusting, don't get me wrong, but it's really good for you, and you have to do it all naturally and organically. So a big lesson has been for sure taking care of my body. I wouldn't smoke cigars every day or every month, but it was like once every 2 months. I'd smoke a couple cigars with some friends usually, because I don't really smoke cigars by myself. But I even cut out smoking cigars. And I've never drank excessively. I've had a couple sips of alcohol. I've never finished a bottle or a can. Never been drunk in my life, thanks be to God. But I think going through all this and talking to people has also affirmed, like, to really, especially for sure now, at this point of my life, not drink at all, or to an excess amount. So that was that. And then the last thing too that I've learned from this experience, based off the title, hopefully that gave it away, but anxiety is a real thing. Anxiety is a real thing where it can affect you psychologically, but that psychological warfare can affect your body as well if you don't learn to control it or manage it a certain way. I'll be honest with you. I used to look at people who would talk about, oh, I have anxiety or I have with this. I would look at them like they're crazy. I would look at them like they're a wuss, because I'd be like, what is there to be anxious about? Like I get you can be nervous and stressful sometimes about certain scenarios or certain situations in life, but still, I was like, overall, it's like, why do you have to be anxious? You live in the best country in the world, and you have this, you have that. Like, there's nothing to be anxious about. Like as if I were God and I could just have authority to speak over someone like that. And that's not the truth. And this experience has humbled me, that anxiety is a real thing. I still stand by this. I still think sometimes people exaggerate when they make claims or they say that they have anxiety and all this stuff. Like, I think there, to some degree, things can be exaggerated, but for the most part, like, I've learned experiencing this, like in this case, the fear or being anxious about death, like, it's a real thing. It's a real thing, and that's something that I believe God has humbled me and has allowed me to go through as well, because it's a real thing. And I used to belittle people who used to, like, use it as an excuse or blame it or whatever. But man, it's like, it's a real thing. And yeah, but it's like, okay, we know anxiety is a real thing, but what do we do with it? And I was reminded, like, again and again and again, to like, literally, I want to say first or second Timothy, I think. I'll see if I can put it up on the screen. It says to cast your anxieties onto the Lord, or maybe Philippians 4 verses 6 and 7, I think, as well. That could be another one. But regardless, basically, to cast my anxieties onto the Lord and to talk to him. Like, even the dumb little details, like, or what I think is dumb isn't dumb to him. To share that with him, be like, God, I'm nervous about this, or God, help me, or God, please fill my spirit, please fill my body with your peace, with the peace of the Holy Spirit, stuff like that. And I'm reminded of that, and just to continue to have my codependence, my everything, placed onto the Lord, to trust him and to not be anxious about anything, but in everything, to rejoice in him, to find joy, and also to find joy and contentment in the good and the bad. Even in the bad, it's like, oh man, this sucks, but God, I find joy in you. God, I praise you. God, I trust you, whatever the case may be. And I'm reminded of that. I really am. And like I said, it's been a harsh, like, thing to go through. It's been something that I don't wish upon anyone, and it's been something that I guess was necessary, or God just allowed in my life for a reason. And yeah, and so that's kind of been that. And I just want to say, like, and acknowledge once again, I know it's a real thing. I know it's something that shouldn't be played with, or something that should be belittled even. But God has used this as a time to teach me, to grow me, to help me. And it's crazy too, because maybe the aftermath he allowed. I don't know. I don't want to say anything that's, like, unbiblical or blasphemous or heretical by any means. But, like, it's all started literally because I made the choice. I made the poor choice of eating late at night, and that kind of triggered it all. Because that's how it started. Like prior to that, I didn't really feel nervous or anxious about death or or my lifestyle or food or whatever, you know. But like God allowed some of the stuff that happened afterwards. I'd assume for a reason, and I trust Him and I love Him, and I rejoice. I rejoice in the Lord in the good and in the bad. And I trust that the Lord allows this for a reason. I hope this helps someone out there. Hopefully, I hope this helps someone out there to continue to just help them and be with them. And hopefully, this could resonate with someone. But yeah, that's pretty much kind of the story and the thing about anxiety. Thank you all for hanging on. Thank you for being there. I'm sorry that I've not posted. From now on, we will be posting once a month. The first Sunday of every Sunday. I know it's going to come out in September, but it's not going to come out for the first Sunday. But after that, consecutively, the first Sunday of every month, we will post a new podcast with people, by myself, with guests, where we talk about specific topics, stuff like that, you know. I was definitely at a point where I wasn't posting, obviously, but we have found the rhythm where we want to do once a month, because mathematically, with my time and other stuff I have going on, like other stuff that I have being built up, that's all I can afford right now. So that's what we want to do. But because I have a vision, I have a view, I have a perspective, I have a dream with this podcast, and I know this podcast has a lot of potential. It has a thing that can help a lot of people, and also I don't want my name being known. I don't want any glorification out of this, or I don't want any like, oh, I got a following and this, none of that crap, you know. I just want to glorify the Lord. I want to honor the Lord in everything I do, say, and think. And this is something that has been placed in my mind, in my life, in my heart for a reason. I know. So I want to be able to be obedient and to grow and to scale and do all these things, and take care of the natural and leave the unnatural, the things that are out of my control, towards the Lord, and take care of what is within my control. But yeah, love you guys, missed you guys, and I shall see you next month in October, where we have an interview with a cool guest whose name shall not be revealed, because you shall see. But yeah, take care.